Dear tea friends from around the world, welcome to a new tea class with me, Stéphane Herler, on Facebook Live, on my Tea Masters blog page here on Facebook Live on this Friday night in the US, in Canada, in Mexico maybe, or maybe you are following me already in the early morning hours of the day in Europe, France, the UK, Belgium, Switzerland. Well, today we'll start with English class, like usual, and today's subject is going to be Dong Pian Oolong. I'm going to talk about this particular type of oolong, and then I will also give you some news about spring harvests for the year 2021 and some other news of the Tea Masters blog and the Tea Masters boutique. So let's first have a look at this Dong Pian Oolong. Now, it's been a couple of years that I've always selected Dong Pian from Mingjian in Nantou County in low elevation from Taiwan's highest producing region, and Sejichun cultivar, harvested usually in January. This year it was harvested on January 26th, and this tea, I like it very much because it's really very fragrant, very light. It's the least oxidized of the oolongs, and in January in Mingjian, that's probably the time of the year where it's coldest, where the weather conditions are closest in the low elevation to high mountains. So to be able to source a tea from January in Mingjian, you get some of the characteristics of freshness, of light fragrances that you get in high mountains. So what does it mean, a Dong Pian? Dong Pian means, Dong is for winter, Pian is for petal. Hello Valérie, nice that you join. So Dong Pian is a bit a special oolong that is a bit not supposed to be harvested, because it is harvested at a very cold time of the year, like January in Mingjian. There are some years where it's so cold that it's not harvested necessarily at the same date, and like this year 26 actually is quite late. Usually, or I remember in the previous years it was more around the early January. So the harvest of Dong Pian is much more difficult to anticipate. Actually, it's in low elevation it's difficult to anticipate, and in higher elevation, high altitude, actually it's almost a miracle, because in the mountains, after the winter harvests, usually the weather really gets so cold that tea does not continue growing after the winter harvest. So, but this year, this is also a reason I wanted to do this subject. We are very lucky because I was able to get Dong Pian from Shaninxi, which is and the tea garden there is located at 1,300 meters of elevation, and so it's a tea that does not grow every year. Actually, it's the first time that I ever proposed Dong Pian from the high mountains, which of course there were there are some years where it was available. I did not always need to or wish to select it, but this year I found it interesting to select it for first of all because it's a rare tea that I had not selected in the past. So what are the characteristics of Dong Pian? So Dong Pian in low elevation, like we have Sejichun, is a tea that is harvested when it's very cold, at a time when it's not supposed to be harvested. And in the high mountains, it's even more difficult to get the right conditions in late winter. So it's even more exceptional. Now, maybe it's because of climate change that this is happening, or maybe it's simply because Taiwan is a subtropical island where the weather in winter is much warmer than in China, which is located more north of Taiwan. But anyway, this Dong Pian, especially in the high mountains, is very rare, and farmers are not always, or actually are not likely to be able to harvest it every year. Especially the higher you go, the less likely you are to be able to make a Dong Pian harvest, because the higher we go in the mountains, the colder the weather, and that's also a reason why the winter harvests in the highest gardens take place at an earlier time than like they already start sometimes end of September or early October in Daoling, and in Shaninshi, like this year, it was early November that the winter harvest took place. And this Dong Pian is from November 27. Oh, actually, this is not should not be out of stock. I still have a lot of this Dong Pian Oolong. Both, thank you, Terry, for your question. So I will check if there is a mistake on the website after the show, but it should this tea from Shaninshi and also the Dong Pian from Mingjian, the Sejichun Dong Pian, both are available, and there are plenty to be had. I will check and replenish the inventory on the website. Thank you for letting me know. Or maybe you looked at under the wrong item. But anyway, so this tea is Dong Pian is always harvested later than the normal winter harvests, and because it is harvested later and it's a bit unexpected, the leaves will grow less evenly than on a normal plant harvest. Some will grow very fast, some less fast, because the farmers did not plan for this harvest. It's really just by chance that it was warm enough for the tea to grow. And actually this year, not only was it warm enough for the tea to grow, but it was warm enough for the small green little crickets to come and bite the leaves like they would do for Oriental Beauty. And that's why this Shaninshi Dong Pian really has very different and very fragrant flavors. Actually, this might be a bit strange, but this year also the Oriental Beauty farmer explained that these little insects that make the particular honey scent for Oriental Beauty, they will not come when it's too hot. They like a hot weather, but it should not be too hot either. So this actually makes sense, because in late November, all of a sudden it was just as hot as in early November. So I start to feel a bit thirsty. This is my on-the-job perk, my my job benefit is that I can drink tea and work at the same time. So let me prepare my Dong Pian Oolong at the same time in a Juni teapot to get the most out of these leaves. So first, of course, we are going to preheat the teapot. The water was already very hot. I'm going to further now reboil it. Now, and my chashi has blue colors for the blue sky, beautiful blue sky that you have in the high mountains, and a mixture of bamboo and pines. These are the two plants that we find in abundance in Shaanxi, but also in Lishan and other high mountain regions of Taiwan. The leaves here are quite large, many different colors, but very green, fresh green. They don't get as much sunshine in winter as in spring. So this changes a little bit the color. Again, this is high mountain oolong, so I'm not using too much. Just one layer at the bottom of my teapot. And because it's so cold when the tea is picked and when it's processed, that's also the reason why this tea is not going to be very oxidized. During the processing of the tea, it is subjected to the air in the mountain, and this cool air makes that the tea won't oxidize as much as it would in summer when it's hot. And that's why it's really one of the least oxidized of the oolongs. Okay, I will send you a message, and Terry will see what we can do. Now, today I'm just going to brew this tea, but actually, if you want to learn about the differences between different seasons in tea, or the impact of the season on a tea, actually it can be a very interesting class to take this Shaanxi Dong Pian and then brew the spring version and also the winter version. Then with these three versions from the same high mountain oolong from the same garden, but from different seasons, you can really understand what is the impact of the season on the tea. Now we saw that these leaves were rolled very tightly, so they take a time to open up. Now the color is okay. It's also important to let the leaves really unfold in your teapot on the first brew. Why? Especially if you're inside, if you don't have an inside filter, just have one hole, the hole will more easily get obstructed by leaves if they have not unfolded. Once the leaves have unfolded, they are so large, they cannot enter this the hole before the spout, and they won't obstruct the spout then. You can see the leaves have opened so well that they just reach the top. They seem perfectly opened, filling all the space evenly. And this is, you can still see a very light brew, very beautiful, light green, very fresh, slightly yellow, but still very green. And very, very light fragrances, very fresh, light, flowery, a bit buttery. And then what you realize is in terms of taste, it's sweet and also very light, very, yeah, like almost an absence of taste. So light it is. It's really the kind of oolong that comes closest to green tea. To say it in a very unscientific way, it's really the high mountain oolong that is the least oxidized because of its characteristic of being picked at the time when it's coldest in the year. And it's a high mountain oolong. So high mountain oolongs, almost by nature, they are less oxidized, but this one is even less oxidized than other seasons of high mountain oolong. So if you like very fresh, very pure and very light fragrance in tea, or even if you like a green tea, this would be a very good way to start in the oolong world, in the high mountain oolong world. And the other advantage is that no bitterness. This tea is very difficult to miss. You can brew it for a long time. The taste remains very light. And actually then very different from the winter taste, which usually is much stronger, with much more oregano and aftertaste. This one is really just very light, like a high mountain, almost like a green tea, I would say. And it has this special, a different fragrance. Probably due to these insect bites. Something a bit more marshmallow. Very sweet, very nice. Okay, if you to summarize, Dong Pian means winter petal. So it's a good reminder that this is a tea that only happens in winter, late winter harvest, so after the winter harvests. But also it has to happen before the Chinese New Year, because sometimes you also get the possibility of a tea being harvested during the winter season, but after the Chinese New Year, when sometimes it can be very hot after the Chinese New Year. But these teas, when they come after the Chinese New Year and before the spring season, these are here called Buzhe Chun. not yet spring. So they are a little bit similar to Dong Pian's from the point of view that they were also unexpected, also due to warmer than usual temperatures. But they are not called Dong Pian, they are called Bujochun, not yet spring. Now these are teas that I have not selected and I rarely drink, because by the time I visit the farmers, the spring season is already there, and these teas, which are made in small quantity, are already gone. So let me see. Oh, okay. So Terry confirmed it's the 2020 Sujichun Dong Pian Oolong that has sold out just on time, and the 2021 version, the newer version, is now available, as well as this one. Elizabeth asks, when you say the sweet like marshmallow, do you mean the white sweet confection or the tisane of roots and leaf? Even tisane has a lovely sweetness. Actually, I was more thinking of the candy. I have a sweet tooth, so I was more thinking of the candy. Thank you for your question. Terry also says, I sampled the 2020 Shanlinchi spring and winter teas from a new tea importer in our area and really enjoyed the difference. So with this Dong Pian, you even get to try a third, very different type of oolong, and this really shows that Taiwan is really blessed with a wonderful weather that enables farmers to grow tea not just in spring or winter, but also in late winter, and actually even in summer. But then in summer, the types of teas are going to be much more different, much more higher oxidized, and then they are really in a different category already. Also, there are some sometimes good productions of second spring harvests that happen in June in the high mountains, and sometimes they are not so bad. I had once a selection of late spring, so the second flush, if you want to speak more like in Indian process terms, of high mountain oolongs, and they can also be quite good, but usually they're not as fine as a spring. Spring has the advantage that the tea trees have rested for a long time between the winter harvest that usually happens now in November and spring. And this is now a good transition to talk about the spring news of 2021. I already start to get emails and questions, when are your newest harvests coming? And oolong is a bit different from green tea. Now, green tea season is really going to start, and the best green tea season is before April 5th. So between roughly it will start in a week or so in China. So really on spring day, March 21st, and last until April 5th. This is really a very short time of the year for green tea. But oolongs, they are not harvested with buds only, like green tea. And the characteristic of oolong is that they can be very large. You can see these leaves are quite large. There's one tip here in the middle, but the leaves below are quite large, and therefore they take longer to grow. So we don't expect high mountain oolongs before April, maybe early April for Jinxuan, and then mid to late April for Qingxing Oolong. And that's why it's also a bit early to say what is going to be the quality of these spring oolongs yet, because we are still very early in the game. So far, the weather has been cold in the beginning of the winter. Now, last week we had a little bit of colder weather, now going back to a bit warmer, but the main problem this year so far is the lack of rain. It's been now a good month that there was almost no rain in northern Taiwan, and even less in the central region. So this is a little bit right now a cause for concern. But it's still early, as I said. We still have a good month before the spring oolong season really gets underway. So in the meantime, you can enjoy the winter seasons and the Dong Pian. They are the freshest teas available right now, and they still will be for a while. This is, as I said, the advantage of being in Taiwan. Every season you get fresh teas, so there's always a possibility for a fresh tea. Another news is a bit not such a good news. This week on March 8th, the Taiwanese post office has increased its postage fees in a very dramatic way, especially to North America. So all of a sudden I had to adjust my rates, because really this price increase, I hope that maybe it's only temporary for they did the rate increase in 2 steps, and the official rate increase and a surtax that I hope will be only temporary. But apparently in global business there is a shortage of delivery transportation, because there are also fewer planes flying around due to the pandemic. So there are fewer possibilities to transport goods from in planes. So cargo shipments has become much more expensive, and now the postage fees, as I said, in Taiwan, all of a sudden like a 50% increase. So, and at the same time, the Taiwan dollar, this I had already mentioned before, has lost roughly 10% of its value, and I also faced several increases for porcelain in recent years that I had not applied on my prices. So I apologize, but I really was pressured on every side, from the currency, from the transportation, from my suppliers, that I had to do short notice adjustments to some prices, especially on the heavier items and on the delivery to the US. The good news is I'm still keeping a free shipping starting 100 by airmail and 200 by EMS. I will see in the coming weeks if I also can, if it still makes sense from the numbers, but I hope that I can keep these thresholds. I apologize, of course, for the inconvenience, but this is really I had to do this, otherwise it was not possible to continue the business. Okay, well, now you understand a little bit for these little price adjustments that I made this week, and I hope maybe you can gather and make group orders. Apparently we all try to be more environment conscious. So if you also group your purchases and make maybe fewer larger purchases, this is better for the environment, and it will also be better for your pocket, because then you can reduce these shipping costs that have increased, especially for smaller packages. So that's why it makes actually more and more sense to make larger purchases, maybe together with other friends, or maybe think of tea as a gift. Especially the Dong Pian Sujichun is really very affordable and a very easy to drink and easy to brew tea. Okay, sorry for my rambling and for these price increases, but yeah, we have to do this from time to time to reflect the reality of the costs. And I thank you for sticking with me and for supporting my little passion with tea. Thank you. Bye bye. Have a nice weekend.